Photoshopping your physique and your body in the fitness industry become like a virus. Today we're going to be talking about Olivia Dunne, who makes up to 500 grand per Instagram post, but photoshops her body to produce a false representation of what she really looks like. Olivia is followed by almost 11 million people across all their social media following, and is one of the highest paid collegiate athletes in the US. Today, I'll be looking at another photo editing scandal to follow on from the Ryan and Zoe one. Not because, again, I want to pick on this young female who is beautiful and talented and many other things amongst that, but because she sets a negative net example to other impressionable females who may take something away from her photoshopping. Flatter stomachs, bigger butts, smoother skin, saucier delts. When we're scrolling through social media, it's very difficult to know what is and isn't edited anymore. So let's dive in. Here are a couple of examples that I found whilst just mooching through TikTok ever since I heard about Olivia Dunne's editing. And this one was posted by 225 magazine and then on Olivia Dunne's actual Instagram page. So you can see the difference just from flicking back and forward with how it's been edited. Now, either 225 magazine made Olivia Dunne look bigger, or Olivia Dunne made herself look smaller. I wonder which one's tabling the truth. Another hook, line, and sinker before we get into the circus act of the melting doors and the weird door frames is another post where she was caught out on. And this one was posted by LSU. And then again, she posted the other image on her IG, which was edited. And this one's not even just about her body, it's the length of her hair. If you want to grow your hair a little bit longer, wait a couple of months and a couple more inches will come. Like, I wish I had this option. But again, the issue here is a beautiful young lady who has insane genetics already and spends probably 99.9% more time than the general population or females who are following her in the gym, yet is still using Photoshop to edit her beauty and her body online, which again is giving a false representation to young, impressionable females who are within her audience. But also, come on, do better. I mean, at least if I was going to edit some of my own photos, I'd do it like the selfies or the bathroom selfies online where other people don't have the option to then post the real version of it, which is then viewed by millions of people. And number 3, back in with our old friend, Mr. Goob. God bless your soul, brother, because you are doing bits of the industry on calling people out and showing people what is and isn't real. So I actually took these from Goob's page because I think he found it on Olivia's page. And then lo and behold, when I went back to her IG, all of a sudden it fucking disappeared. So I couldn't find them. So I'm going to use Goob's actual video. It's just the usual stuff, as you can see on here. The wall bending, the pinching the ass in, the bringing the waist in to make proportions more Disney princess-like.
Where she did from the side. Now, if you didn't have a reference photo, this photo would look perfectly normal. But let's zoom in first. All right, chair looks perfectly normal, right? She actually posted 2 photos so we can compare the chairs in the background. And when you do so, yeah, it's not supposed to bend like that, Olivia.
The thing is though, people, i.e. young girls, will want to look the way she looks. And when Olivia can't even look like Olivia, the literal definition of a blonde bombshell, then how are these other women, females, followers supposed to ever live up to these supposed expectations? And like I mentioned before, I don't want people going over to Olivia's page and wagging the finger and leaving comments and calling her out because she's a young lady. She's had a ton of pressure probably applied to her. I'd imagine she's probably had a lot of negative comments which have molded her perception of the world, which has then made her go into Photoshop in the first place, because why else would she be doing this? Why else would she be looking for those imperfections if it wasn't something that was potentially created by society? And the other thing that we love to do, we love to get behind people. We love to see people do well. We love to see the rise of the underdog and a young hero. But one thing that we love to do even more is we love to see them fall. And this is exactly what happens here. But again, we're going to have young women or even older women who are going to be doing everything possible to have nice hair, the perfect skin, the bigger booty, the beautiful body. They're going to be taking the biotin. They're going to be doing, if you're like my wife, Lucy, you're going to be using every skin ointment in the world, the snail piss, the tiger semen, the half an hour pre-bedtime routine to try and make your skin better, working out every day, to then look to someone else who's not even really adhering to those standards themselves. They're just using AI or Photoshop to create these unrealistic standards. Now, I haven't even seen this next clip, but I'm going to get editor Kieran to pop in an image of me which has been photoshopped and then next to it the real image. And these are subtle changes that you can make, which unless you see the real image, you wouldn't even know it had been edited. Now, I'd imagine on this image, I've probably got bigger delts, a wider frame. For guys, the usual will be to create a bigger X frame, so it'll be smaller waist, broader shoulders, bigger chest, more definition, more clarity, more texture to create a more chiseled but wider looking frame. And again, I've seen people do this. I've seen it many years ago. I've seen people use different applications to do it. But then what happens when you see them in real life? They're not half the size, they're not as lean. And these people just live for validation. So even if you're the person who seeks validation from using Photoshop, there's going to become a place in time where you're going to be seeing through the lens of something called real life. One of the other things that I was looking at as well, and I noticed this was in 2021, it was a law that was brought in by Norway, and it was supposed to come into force, but I don't know whether it has, to create a law where social media influencers can't post modified photos without declaring what they've done to the photo. I think that's a great idea because it basically creates transparency within the industry. And they said the rules were to affect any paid posts across all social media platforms as part of an effort to reduce body pressure among young people. And again, this wasn't just about making the trees greener or changing the brightness. It's for making body parts look smaller. It was editing skin, teeth. I don't know, you love length. If you're lacking length, not like me. In order to basically protect people's self-esteem, improve consumers' own body confidence, give more clarity, and spot people who are fakes. Because the thing that we will always do is we will always compare ourselves to other people. It's within our DNA, it's part of evolution, it's survival of the fittest, to look at the people around us, the strongest, the fittest, the most beautiful, and try and, in some respect, subconsciously meet their standards so that our genes survive. So when we notice ourselves comparing, it's not about slapping yourself on the wrist, telling yourself you're a bad person. It's about being self-aware of that and trying not to do it. I've mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. I believe we are still Flintstones in the fast lane of the social media world, and we don't truly understand the implications and the impact that social media and increased screen time is going to have long term. And there was something which was released by Psychology Today, which had the headline, "Teens who cut down on social media use have higher self-esteem." And what they published was that in 2021, nearly 3 in 5 US teen girls felt persistently sad or hopeless, in large part due to the internet. They also found a recent study showed that teens who reduced their social media by just 50% significantly improved their self-esteem. Healthy discussions about the effects of social media use can make a major difference in teens' lives. So what I would do is I would try, and here's just like some tips to do with social media if you do find yourself comparing, is to look at your screen time and look at ways in which you can decrease that by half. One of the things that me and Lucy have been doing is we'll go and put our phone upstairs at like 8:30, 9 p.m. It'll be on charge so we can't use it. What's out of sight and out of reach is out of mind. The other thing you can do is set a time for when you don't go on social media before a certain time in the morning. That's a really good thing to do. And the other thing is just catching yourself doing things, or even setting locks or alarms when you're trying to do it, or writing down times or journaling of how social media is making you feel. The other thing you can do is unfollow these kind of people. Unfollow these people who we are telling you is not being transparent and creating unrealistic beauty or fitness standards for yourself. And maybe follow some people who are more real. There's a lot of them online. One of the things that I was also thinking about as I was about to wrap up this video is the following quote. And this is a quote that I actually just made up myself, and I thought it was a good conclusion to the video, and maybe hit home for you guys because it definitely did for me. Looking at anyone and anything, the beauty is an eye of the beholder, which is a great and beautiful thing. But when we are looking at photos that are edited, or photo editing, it is like having beer goggles forcibly sanctioned to your face to make you see the person or the thing in a way that is not representative of real life. And I'd view social media most this way. It's always the highlight reel, it's always the golden carrot, it's always the hundreds or the thousandth photo that's been taken at the best angle and the best light that's posted. And just make sure that you're aware of this when you start to compare yourself to other people, because like I've said before, the people who we used to compare ourselves to maybe 100 years ago were only the people who were down the Asda or your local convenience store while you're buying the milk. Not Olivia Dunne, the blonde bombshell who's still using Photoshop.